Good morning and welcome to our Abhidhamma class in English, as always delivered to you by our esteemed teacher, Most Venerable Bulwala Ratanasiri Thero of Millava Dharma Vijayarama Temple in Kurunagala, Sri Lanka. And we welcome all our Dhamma listeners on our live streaming of the Sanghakaya Foundation YouTube channel, and you're also welcome to join us directly through Zoom. So it is right about time for us to start actually it is the fifth Abhidhamma class today, not the fourth. Make that slight change there. So it is the fifth Abhidhamma class of where we are moving on to some deeper Abhidhamma topics. So over to you, Reverend Sir, to begin the class.
Good morning. We are going to start our Abhidhamma class today. Today we are discussing Satya Vibhanga in Vibhanga Prakarana. Satya Vibhanga means that is analysis of Four Noble Truth. You know, the Buddha's main teaching is the Four Noble Truth. Venerable Professor Valpula Rahula Thero, he wrote the book called What the Buddha Taught. In his book, he mentions that heart of the Buddha's teaching lies in the Four Noble Truth. So, the Four Noble Truth is very important in Buddhism. As I have already told you, Vibhanga Prakarana, it has three explanations: Sutta explanation, Abhidhamma explanation, and Patiputta explanation, that is interrogative explanation. Sutta explanation, it is the evidence that there is a close relationship between Sutta Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. In Sutta explanation, it explains the subject matter in Abhidhamma according to the suttas. According to the suttas, this sutta explanation is there. For instance, Four Noble Truth is described in several suttas, like Dhammacakka Pavattana Sutta, Satya Vibhanga Sutta, Tulla Vedalla Sutta, Mahahatipadopama Sutta. So several suttas are there, descriptions of Four Noble Truth. So in Sutta explanation in Abhidhamma, the subject matter has been described according to the suttas. So it is the powerful evidence to show that there is the close relationship between suttas and Abhidhamma. Because some scholars says that Abhidhamma is not the Buddha's word. But when we study Abhidhamma, we understand that Abhidhamma has been derived from the suttas. So Abhidhamma is also Buddha's word. Today, I am going to explain you the Four Noble Truth, how it has been described in the Sutta explanation in Abhidhamma. What are the Four Noble Truth? In short, we say Dukkha, Samudaya, Nirodha, Marga. Dukkha Satya. Dukkha Satya is the truth of suffering. Truth of suffering. Dukkha Satya. Samudaya Satya, the cause of suffering. Nirodha Satya, the cessation of suffering. Magga Satya is the way toward the cessation of suffering or the Nibbana. That is the Four Noble Truth. Now we'll take the first Noble Truth, Dukkha Satya. In Abhidhamma, in Sammodha Vineda, the commentary, it defined dukkha as imperfections, insubstantiality. Dukkha has defined. Dukkha as defined as suffering. It gives suffering to the person. That is dukkha. In Sutta explanation, dukkha has been described in this way. Jatipi dukkha, that is birth. Birth comes under suffering. Jati. What is jati? Birth. Birth is becoming of a being, that is giving birth to the being is called the birth. In Abhidhamma, there are 4 ways of that took place birth. Birth took place in 4 ways. It is known as Andaja, Jalabhuja, Samsedaja, Opapatika. Andaja means there are creatures like birds. they are born from the eggs. They spend certain times in the eggs, and they, after maturing, by breaking the shell of the egg, they come out. That is under. They are born from eggs, like birds. Then Jalabuja. Jalabuja means some beings like mosquitoes, bacteria, and microorganisms, insects, some insects, they are born in the stagnant water, polluted water, and places where gathering garbage. In such places, there are some beings, they are born in such places. So they are called Sanseted Jalabuddha. Then Sanseted means there are some beings like human beings, they are in the womb of the mother. They spend certain time in the womb of the mother, then mother gives birth to the child. Some animals also, like cows, goats, human beings, they are born in this way. That is God. Out of these three ways, there are some beings, they are born out of these 3 weeks. They don't spend in eggs, they don't spend in polluted water, and they don't spend some time in wombs of the mother. Out of these 3 ways, like gods, Brahmas, they are born. It is called Opapatika. So in these 4 ways, beings are born. In Dukkha Satya, explain that birth is suffering. Birth is suffering. For instance, now think of mother, pregnant mother, when she gives birth to the child, she undergoes in the labor field. And the child also crying, and because of he feels some suffering there. In the womb of the mother, when the mother drinks hot water, it affects to the child in the womb. There is suffering. So, in this Satya Vibhanga in Dukkha Satya, birth is concerned as suffering, Jatipi Dukkha. Then the second one, old age, Jara, decaying. It's also suffering because when we get in old, we lose our eye vision. We are weak in sensing, and our strength is losing. So different changes happens. Our skin wrinkles, our formation, figure, beauty is losing. So there is suffering again. We can't prevent this. Sometimes we apply some medicines to survive our youth, but we can't do it. We do some amendments to our body to prevent this old age, but we can't do it. So there is suffering. All age is suffering. And the next one is the death, Maran. Maran is suffering. We feel worry. We don't like to die. Sabbe Bhayanti Matu. All are fear of death. So death is suffering. What is death? What is death? Death is when we consider about our 5 aggregates: Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. Matter, feeling, perfection, mental formation, consciousness. When these 5 aggregates combines and act together, we can live. So far as these 5 aggregates act together, we can live. One day it comes, these 5 aggregates separates from the matter. Feeling and perfection and mental formation and conscious. They separated each other. And they separated from the matter, Rupa. And that time, there occurs death. That is death. So, when the 5 aggregates are separated, there is death. It is suffering. When the person is nearly to die, he is suffering. So death is suffering. Then grief. So now think of when you feel the grief. Sometimes you feel grief by thinking of your old age or by thinking of your something that you have lost. In that way, you have grief. If you can't pass your exam, there is grief. So always it is suffering, it suffers you. If you have grief in your mind, you are to suffer. So grief is a suffering. And parideva, lamentations. Parideva means you weep and you say something. Sometimes in the funeral house, we find such situations, lamentations. They say something, they say something about the dead person, how they lived and how they achieved each other. In that way, they worry about saying something that is called lamentation. So lamentation is also suffering. As far as the person laments, there is suffering, lamentation. Then distress is called the dukkha domanassa. Again, then you feel worry always. You are not happy. You are lazy. And you are sloth. So that is domanassa, dukkha domanassa. It is there in your mind. If there is distress in your mind, you are suffering. That is why distress is called dukkha, the suffering. Association one not beloved. Apyehi sampayoga dukkha. Apyehi sampayoga dukkha. It has been explained here in this way. Now you know our 6 faculties. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Those are the 6 faculties. And the 6 kinds of objects that contact with 6 faculties. Now, association one not beloved means, in deep sense, if you have to sense visual object in your eye that you don't like, there it is suffering. If you are to see the object that you don't like, then there is suffering. And if you are to hear the sound that you don't like, that is again, there is suffering. And if you have to smell a bad odor that you don't like it, unbearable odor, there is suffering. If you take food, it is not tasty. You have experienced it. There is suffering. And if you have some tangible objects to contact that you don't like that object, there again, there is suffering. And so that is called association one not beloved, apyehi sampayogo dukkha. Next one, separation from one beloved Ye viprayoga dukkha. That is the opposite side of the former one. Not merely opposite side. If you don't have to see, if you don't have opportunity to see the objects that you like very much. You like very much that figure, but you can't see that object. You don't have opportunity to see that object. There, there arise what? There arise suffering. Suppose one boy loves a girl. The boy wants to see that girl, but he can't see her because of some reasons. So he does not have object, the beloved object to see. So there arises suffering. It is suffering. Rupa, Gandha, that is smell. If you don't have to smell a good sense, cosmetics you like, you want to apply it, but you don't have it. So there arises dukkha, suffering. Taste also same. Tongue. You like to eat certain tasty food. Your favorite food maybe. But you can't find it at the moment. Then it is suffering. Tangible object also same. And the thoughts. You like to memorize that you like thoughts, but you can't recollect those thoughts for the circumstances, for certain reasons. You can't recall them. You can't recollect those beloved thoughts. So there arise suffering. That is, yehi vipayoga dukkha. Next one, unable to have something desired. Yampittan nalabati tampi dukkham. So you want to have something, but you can't get it. Yampittan nalabati tampi dukkham. Not only object. Now suppose you are studying for the examination, then you sat for the examination. You hope to pass the examination. After the result, you were failed. Then what happened? There is suffering. You suffer because you couldn't pass your exam. You wanted to pass your exam, but you couldn't pass your exam. So that is called Yam Pikkam Nalabati Tampi Dukkam. You want something keenly, but you can't have it. There again arise suffer. Then attachment to five aggregates is called the Sankitthena Panchupadanakkhandha Dukkha. In brief, the whole life is suffering, but if we say whole life, how this suffering arises? If we say whole life is suffering, that is five aggregates, the whole life is suffering. Some may say that Buddhism is pessimistic or optimistic. Buddhism has a negative attitude, some may say. But here, the attachment of five aggregates is suffering. Not the five aggregate is suffering. That means this life is not suffering. What is suffering here? Attachment of the five aggregates. Attachment. If you develop attachment to your method, rupa, then what will happen? Your figure is not permanent. It is changing. We discuss about old age and death. When you get old, when you lose your teeth, when it wrinkles your skin, when you lose your strength and memory, you feel suffering because there is attachment in you to the matter. Buddhism teaches the detachment of matter. Buddha describes his Dhamma to get the person to detach from the five aggregates. If there is attachment, the rupa, the matter, and feeling also. When you get old, you don't feel well, and you can't memory and your knowledge and your wisdom are decreasing, then you feel suffering because you have attachment to feeling. Perception also same. Perceptions. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya. Now, when we get old, the perceptions, it also get weakness. So there arise suffering. Then mental formations. Mental formations. If you have attachment to mental formations, one day in your life, one day there comes time that you can't engage in mental formation. that is wholesome activities or unwholesome activities. You can't engage in activities. Then you feel, you suffer. When I was the young person, I worked hard. I did those things. How I did those things. And he thinks, now I can't. So if he has attachment to that mental formations, there arises suffering. That is suffering. And contact also aggregates. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, consciousness. Consciousness also sin. The consciousness, there are changes in your consciousness. There happens. So when you are going to die, there arise the last thoughts of the change of mind. So it is suffering. You feel some suffering. Consciousness also. If you have attachment to the consciousness, you feel suffering. So attachment to five aggregates, Panchapadana Khandha Dukkha. Not the five aggregates dukkha, but the attachment to five aggregates. We have to understand it. So this is the dukkha satya, the truth of suffering. Then we'll come to the next satya, the samudaya satya, the cause of suffering. Samudaya satya explains what is the reason for suffering. Craving. It is the craving. Craving is the reason. Craving is the cause for suffering. Craving bound up with passionate gives rise to all forms of suffering. It's bound up with passionate. Passionate means the nandirag. It is called nandirag. It attacks each and every object. It is nandirag. So craving, attaching each and every object, and gives rise to all forms of suffering. There are three kinds, and it originates in six faculties, six objects and consciousness associate in five aggregates. It ceases where it is born. Now, the suffering is of three kinds. It is known as Kama Tanha, Bhava Tanha, Vibhava Tanha. Kama Tanha means desire for sensual pleasure. Desire for sensual pleasure. That means you have desire to sense your organs with objects. You like to see beautiful pictures. You like to hear sounds, that sweet sounds, and you like to smell good odors in that way. And you like to contact with a good, soft, tangible objects. You like to think of the beautiful thoughts. So that is sensual pleasure, desire for sensual pleasure. It is called kama tanha. Desire for existence and becoming. That means you have desire to remain in this sansara. You hope to be born as a rich person one day. You hope to be born as a god. You hope to be born as a Brahma. You hope to be born as a powerful person, as a scientist, or you always hope that to remain in the circle of wheel of circle. What is that? That is called bhava tanha. You like to be born in the heaven, in the Brahmaloka, in that field. That is desire for existence. That is bhava tanha. Desire for non-existence, vibhava tanha. Desire for non-existence. What is that? It is, in one sense, it is called Ukkedavad, nihilism or annihilism. Ukked. Now, this desire for non-existence, vibhava tanha, arise because of annihilism. Some people believe after the death, there is no rebirth. They don't believe in rebirth. If they don't believe in rebirth, then they don't believe in wholesome and unwholesome laws. They don't believe in karma vipaka. Karma and vipaka. They don't believe. So, they wanted to sense their five faculties, and they want to spend the luxurious life by using various unlawful, engaging in illegal professions like selling drugs, selling weapons, selling poisons, selling animals. In that way, they gather a lot of money somehow, and they want to fulfill their 5-6 organs in this life, within this life. Before to their death, they want to have the luxurious life Or on the other hand, we can say they want to practice a self-indulgence, karma, sukhallikanu yoga, because they don't believe in rebirth. They don't believe in wholesome and unwholesome. They don't believe in doctrine of dependent origination, hetupala, dependent origination, cause and effect. So they lose their morality. There is no morality, moral values in such persons, because they desire to, somehow they want to sense their six organs and to lead luxurious life. That is desire for non-existence, vibhava. Those are the three kinds of craving, greed, the tantra. And we'll discuss where this craving arise. Where does this craving arise? Yes, craving arise in six faculties and six objects, and in six kinds of consciousness. Now take your eye. Eye is the place to arise tanha, the craving. Eye. Because of eye, there arise craving. And the visible object. In visible object also, there arise craving. Because of visible object, there arise craving. And ear. Because of ear, there arise craving. Here is the place. Here is the place where arise craving. And sound. Because of sound, there arise craving again. And nose. Nose is the place where arise craving. And odor is another reason that arise craving. And tongue. Tongue is the place where arise craving. And taste is a reason or other reasons. Because of taste. If there is no taste, there arise. It does not arise craving. So taste is also. And body. Body is the place where arise craving. And tangible object. Tangible object. Because of tangible object, if there is tangible object to the body, to contact body, there arise craving. So, in tangible body, object, there arise craving. Then mind. Mind is the place, it's a faculty. There arise craving. Then the phenomena, Dhamma, thoughts. Because of thoughts, there arise craving. Now, those are the places where craving arises. And the consciousness. Now, suppose I is there, I is the faculty. In I, there is a sensitive place called door. This is called the Chakku-pasada. Now the figure is there outside, and person has his bhavanga, the mind, the pure stage of the mind, bhavanga is there in heart. Then what happened? That I, the Chakku-pasada, between Chakku-pasada and visible figure, there is a contact. There happened contacts. Soon after contact, it happened on the door of the ear. There arise eye consciousness. There arise what? Eye consciousness. So that eye consciousness, in that eye consciousness also, there arise craving. Because of that eye consciousness, there arise craving. Now, we'll take the other object faculties also. Ear. If we take ear and sound and mind, then there arise ear consciousness in the door of the mind. Then, because of that ear consciousness, there may arise craving. So the ear consciousness is one of the place where it arises craving. And nose is there, the odor comes, then there arise nose consciousness, then nose consciousness is one of the place where arise craving. And tongue consciousness also. There is tongue, there is taste, there is contact between taste and tongue, and there arise consciousness because mind is there. Then this tongue consciousness is the place to arise craving. And body, skin, and outside there is tangible object, contact, you feel soft, then body consciousness arises. It is the place where craving can be born, craving can be generated. Then mind faculty, mind faculty. Mind faculty is there and thoughts are there to think of or memorize. Then there is contact between thoughts and mind faculty. There is then mind consciousness. Then mind consciousness is also a place where craving can be born. So that is the nature of craving, the cause of suffering, according to the Sutta explanations in Vibhanga, in Satya Vibhanga. Then we'll come to the third one. I think the time we'll come to the third one, cessation of suffering, that is Nirodha Satya. Nirodha Satya is the extinction of craving. That is extinction, eradication of craving. Now we studied what are the places that craving rise. So extinctions of craving took place where it is originated. Now, in here, craving is originated. In here, consciousness, craving is originated. And visible object, in visible object also, craving is originated. It ceases where it originates. That is Nirodha Satya. Extinctions. Now, when we consider the six faculties, objects, and consciousness, it arises, the craving arises there, and ceases or extincts there itself. That is, that is Nibbana. In short, that is Nibbana. Then we'll come to the fourth one, the Magga Satya. Magga Satya, the middle pathway, as you know. We know this middle pathway, the Noble Eightfold Pathway, Ariya Attangika Magga. First one is right understanding, Samma Ditti. Right understanding what? Dukkha jnana, dukkha samudaya jnana, dukkha nirodha jnana, and dukkha nirodha gamini patipada jnana. That is the understanding. Understanding of the Four Noble Truths. Here the understanding it does not mean the realization. First, the mendicant, the person who practice meditation to enter Nibbana, that is Vipassana Bhavana. So he have idea about the Four Noble Truths. Then right thought, Samma Sankappa. That is the, now it helps the right thoughts. Avyapada Sankappa, Avihimsa Sankappa, Nikkamma Sankappa, in that way. These thoughts help the mendicants to get into the object, his casino, get into the casino. And right speech, Sammavata, that is the correct way of taking the object into the mind when the person practices meditation. So he developed his thoughts in his mind not to speak lies, slander, and nonsense like that. He create such thoughts in his mind, and it is helpful to continue his meditation. And right action, Samma Kammanta. Samma Kammanta, it helps to keep the mind on the object. Keep the mind on the object. It is called vichara, vitakka vichara. Because he developed thoughts in his mind not to kill animals, not to take drugs and liquor and all that. In that way, not to steal, not to engage in the sexual misconduct. In that way, he formed such thoughts in his mind when he practiced meditation. Then it is helpful to keep his mind on the object itself. Then Samma Vayama, that is, Samma Ajiva. Samma Ajiva is a right livelihood, the way of right living. When the mendicants, he practice meditation, Samma Ajiva, it is the purification of the mind. It purifies the mind. Samma Ajiva. Then right effort, Samma Vayama. Samma Vayama, it assists the mendicants to continue his meditation, to develop his meditation, because he suppresses his unwholesome thoughts. He suppresses unwholesome thoughts, and he develops his wholesome thoughts that is associated in his object. So it is assists the mendicants to perform his meditations towards Nibbana. Then right mindfulness, Samma Sati, you know, according to the Satipatthana Sutta, fourfold of developing mindfulness there. Right mindfulness, it is the realization. When you come to that state, when you develop the mindfulness, that is their realization about Nibbana, there is realization. Then right concentration, that is this concentration, Samadhi. So in this explanation, term Samadhi comes under supramundane. The other 7 terms up to right mindfulness, they are mundane and supramundane. Because in right concentration, the mendicant developed his jhana, that is, sota, vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata, sotapatti, magga, chitta. We studied in the supramundane consciousness how the consciousness forms 40, 8 consciousness form 40. So they are supramundane. The mendicants, he developed those jhana absorptions, and then he developed his aruppa, 4 aruppa, that is akasanantayatana, viññānañcāyatana, nīva saññāna saññā, ākiñcaññāyatana, nīva saññāna saññāyatana, and he developed his 37 enlightenment factors, 37 Buddhanga Dhamma, 37 enlightenment factors he developed, and he comes to Soan, Sakurdagami, Anagami, Arihat, Magga and Phala, and he entered Nibbana. So now the time is up now. Let me stop my lesson with this. Thank you very much for listening to me. Blessing of the triple gems be showered upon you. Thank you very much.
Thank you and much merit to you, Reverend Sir. So today we looked at the Four Noble Truths. If there is anybody who would like to ask questions on it, you can ask your question through the Google form to which you have access by scanning the QR code that appears on the screen, or you can ask your question on the YouTube channel where we are live streaming right now. So let me take a look to see if there are any questions. We would also like to remind our dear Dhamma listeners, if anyone is pleased to make a donation to the Dharma Vijaya, Sri Panyasara Dharma Vijaya Sahanapadanama, which is a community relief fund maintained by Most Venerable Bulul Ratana Silthero to the benefit of the community. You are welcome to make a donation, and the details are there on the screen. We do not have any further questions on today's topic, Reverend Sir. So
yes, shall we stop the class?
Can wind up, and our next session on the Abhidhamma class in English will be next Sunday, same time. So until then, much merit to all our listeners again, and much merit to our esteemed teacher, Bulwala Ratana Silthero. Thank you very much, and have a good day and a good week ahead. I will end the session now, Reverend Sir.
Okay.